Thank you, Karen. It's wonderful. And just as a personal note, I've been listening to Karen's CDs for many, many years, and it's such a wonderful experience, especially if you'd like to meditate or just be in a mood where you can block out all the negativity in the world when you turn on TV or turn on the radio, just to have something that's so soothing. So Karen, you have an amazing background, and um, are there some other things that you might want to mention as far as helping girls maybe think about how what would be the steps that they should think about if they wanted to write a song, and how do they get it published? What are some of those business steps that one might have to consider doing?
So I think the it's really quite a process, and it's a very individual process, because when you're in that creative mode, no matter what you're creating, after you're done with it, it takes on its own life. So
Hmm.
it really has wings, like a book, a song. So when I'm done with a music production, I really, it's usually during the development of it and the collaboration with other artists is when it really starts to take on its own separate entity. It has, your creative work has an energy that you put out there into the world, and it attracts, like-minded partners. When I worked with music labels, those type of connections and relationships were made when I prepared an actual marketing packet, and I participated in these different international music conferences, national music conferences, local music conferences. And these would be competitions that you'd enter in your song for an award or some type of recognition.
Hmm.
Through those type of relationship building, you really garner opportunities, you create opportunities to collaborate with other artists that have other connections. So it's really about allowing that process to evolve. If you push something, if you try to, create uh, something that feels difficult, because it's really truly not meant to be. I believe that you really want to connect with like-minded people that resonate with your work, that resonate with your creative self, and they're there. They're there in the least places that are the least likely places, the places that you would never really think that they would be there, but they're there. So there are steps you can now. Today, everything is so different from when I was at the height of my music career. We actually worked with music labels, and we actually produced CDs that were sold in stores, and we actually went into the stores and did concerts. And now everything is so digital. So you can visit my website. Everything is on a digital platform. I think having a website is really good. Um, we created a video for Girls Have Dreams, which I'm really excited to launch on our official web page. And that's always a good thing when you have a song, to do a little video of it and send it out. I also look at other people. I studied other artists that I really admired and loved. Uh, um, Andrea Bocelli is one of my faves. I absolutely
Hmm.
adore him. His music is, I went to see him in concert. My husband surprised me and took me for one of my birthdays one year, and to see him perform as a blind artist, he is so inspirational. But when you think about somebody that is blind and going from where he was as a young boy to where he's at in the world, I believe it's because he touched, moved, and inspired because his art came from his heart. You can hear it coming from his soul, from his heart. And when you create something from your heart, it, like I said, you release it into the world, it has an energy, and it will attract those like-minded people to you. There are
Great.
prac Yeah.
Go ahead, Karen. I'm sorry. Finish your thought.
Well, and then there's also, there's many different ways to market your music. Find somebody that is successful that you resonate with and look at the path that they took. Study, study, study. Practice, practice, practice. Be bold, be courageous.
That's great. Rhea, do you have a question? Oh, Rhea is asking, what kind of singer composer would you classify yourself as?
Well, I started out, I would say, writing songs on the piano. So I was classically trained. I think that they were more dreamlike or song track for movies, or something that you would hear in the background. It was more instrumental. When I started to actually write songs and sing them, it's because I had a message and because I love to sing. So then I became more of a singer-songwriter that was more in the folk genre, I would say. But I also love jazz, so I trained my voice for jazz. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, but spent my summers down in Tennessee and Mississippi with my grandparents at my family lands down there. So I heard a lot of the old blues. I heard a lot of the skipping down the dirt road in my grandma's hometown. There were, all these old farmers sitting out there on their porch playing the juice harp, playing the harmonica, playing, banjos, so that really, I think really helped shape a lot of the genre of music too. I think if Billboard magazine did a review and said it was a combination of folk, blues, jazz, and traditional Native American. So I think, and I think another part of the creative process is, when you're an artist, if you're a painter, you may start out with pastels. You may grow into watercolors. You may experiment with acrylic. As a singer-songwriter, I've experimented with opera. I've experimented with classical, with jazz, with folk, with traditional Native American, with contemporary music combined with traditional Native American chants. I've experimented, and it's been such a joy to do that. That's the part I think, the one piece and the one key that I wish I could give to every young person is that key to be curious, to experiment, to stretch yourself, and to be bold in doing that. Be courageous.
Great words of advice, Karen. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
So when do we get to hear the song, Girls Have Dreams?
Well, we are launching our website in August. You can go to my website and hear it now.
Really? Okay.
Actually,
Yeah.
Can I jump in?
Yes, Chris.
So girlshavedreams.com right now is featured, and you can listen to the video right there.
Good.
And we have a form. If you want the MP3, fill it out, and we will get that to you.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yay, Chris. Thank you, Chris.
Yay!
Yay!
Chris to the rescue.
Oh. Okay, well, thank you, Di, and thanks everybody for participating and listening.
Oh, this is great. Well, you're an inspiration for me. When I was a teenager, we had an old piano down in the basement of our family home, and I would go down. I don't read music even to this day, but I would go down and play the piano for hours. Just picking out certain melodies and chords and things. And my mother always knew that Diane had something on her mind that she was worried about or stewed about, because I would spend hours down there, and that would be the way I would think. But Karen, being around you, again, many of you know that I talk about this quite a bit. I'm 77, but I still want to remain curious. And one of my favorite instruments over the years is the harp. And so I want to learn how to play the harp. And I've been looking into that myself. There's some small ones you can actually, 26 to 34 strings, where you can actually hold it on your lap. So Karen, you continue to inspire me to stretch myself musically, because I really think that sometimes when I get kind of caught up in stress or being anxious, it's my soul saying, you need to be creative now. It's time for you to shut everything down and find that creative outlet. And music has been my creative outlet, even though I haven't done much with it, but it still has a way to, even listening to classical, has a way to help me temper my thoughts.
Yes.
And I think right now, I think we all need to find that special place
Yes.
that we can take and fall back into, to feel safe, to say, this is what my quiet time. Shut down all the media, shut down all your devices, and spend time doing something you really love. Whether it's, I'm taking up art too, I'm taking up some painting. So I think I'm running out of time. There's so much I want to do. So being around all of you inspires me to take on, try out some more new things. But
very good.
I do love music, but I don't have any talent there. However, I was in the middle of taking art classes at college when my life was totally misdirected another way for this business, when the illness came to my family. But I still miss that artistic side, and I always seek it out in the technology today, which is beginning to be more and more. So I'm excited when new things come around in technology because of the creativity.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Billy, we're here to help encourage you to get that canvas up and start. Look at Grandma Moses. You're not anywhere close to that age, but you and I are about the same generation. That anything's possible, especially being around all these young girls.
Yeah, thank you, Diane. That's good encouragement for sure.
Deborah?
Yeah, I'd like to say that's the A in STEAM, right? Is the artistic part.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue that in programming and other technical occupations, it really is artistic.
Mm-hmm.
All developers that I know, that I've worked with, consider themselves very creative people. You have to think out of the box and be creative. I wanted to make also a comment on something Karen said about, if you can imagine it, you can create it. And I would just like to, I think about this frequently when I, think about creating things. Like, everything we see in the world was someone's idea. Every single thing in the world, every house, every telephone pole, every car, everything that exists as a thing, somebody thought of that, or multiple somebodies, but it came out of somebody's brain. So if you have an idea for something, just to say what Karen has already said, if you can think it, you can make it, you can create it. So thank you, Karen, for reminding us of that.
My pleasure. Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you, Karen.
You're
and
welcome.
Diane.
Thank you all very much. Karen, again, it's wonderful having you there. Hello, Rachel. Did you have a comment you wanted to make? No?
I love the talk. I think that we get so caught up on things that we want to achieve, and we're always working on things. I'm thinking about how, we're raised with these fairy tales that often end with they get married and lived happily ever after, as if life is like an interesting trip, and then you hit some point and everything's set and there won't be change anymore. And we're always focused on the thing we're going to get to, that moment. And when you have successes, I've made some games that I loved and there were great successes, but what I noticed is the thrill of people liking it wears off, and what really matters was that artistic process of the making and doing. And so a lot of what Karen was saying really resonated with me, that just especially surrounding yourself with people who are good collaborators.
It's it truly is like what you create, whether it is, Deborah, you were talking about, the other, like in the arts falls into so many different career paths. And Rachel, what you were saying, yeah, it's really about what you're left with after it's out there, because whatever you create, whatever you do, it creates its own, it has its own life. It really, it takes off, it's separate from you. Once you release it, you give it to the world, and it touches and moves and inspires people. It weaves in and out of their lives in so many different ways. So creativity, that creative process is such it's really like a lifeline, I think, to your spiritual development and to fulfillment, your personal fulfillment in life.
Well, Karen, I'd like you to share a little bit about Al, who's your arranger, because there's
Yeah.
such a story that I didn't know about until I met him, about the studio musicians that help create and partner with huge labels over the years, but their names never appeared on any of it, and they didn't receive any royalties from it. Tell us about Al.
So Al Criado is a dear friend. Al and I have worked together from, oh my goodness, since 1995. We've worked together, collaborating on multiple projects. He's a world-renowned bassist. He's from Cuba. Just a great soul and great collaborator. My husband and I have spent many wonderful evenings with him and his wife and family. And Al was a studio musician. He worked in LA, played with the greats, the Sinatras, Al Jarreau, just Earth, Wind, and Fire. I mean, just, worked at the studios down there for many, many years. And he's a master. I mean, he has mastered his craft. And I've had the good fortune of working with him. I've learned so much from him. And he's the studio. He has a little studio here just a few miles from my house. And we recorded Girls Have Dreams at his studio. Di approached me and said, Karen, I think you should write a song for these young girls in pursuit of their dreams. And we talked, we got together. Di has always been such a mentor in my life, to helping push me and propel me forward, leap into uncharted territory. So I couldn't think of a better partner to do this with than with Al Criado. And he is so skilled. And so Di had the opportunity, and her daughter, or her granddaughter, Ava, as one of the singers on the song. And we collaborated together in this project and came up with the title Girls Have Dreams, and went into the studio and worked with Al there, and was able to just, he's a master. He's taught himself how to do the recording now, has built this great home studio, which has a world-class sound to it. And it was just really a pleasure to do that project with him. And Di had the opportunity to meet him. And it was just another great project working with Al Criado. He's just an incredible musician.
Thank you, Karen. If any of you are curious about that whole area of studio musicians, there's quite a documentary on, I think, YouTube and Netflix, and it's amazing. For years, these people actually took over, and some of the names, artists, they sing, but they're not actually performing. They may look like they're performing, but actually it's the studio musicians that are doing a lot of the backup music for them that help them get these gold records. So it's amazing how that has changed now, fortunately. So Karen, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? This is wonderful, Karen.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, one question quick before our other guest speakers start. Rhea
Okay.
wanted to know, what is your favorite song you created? And also, what is the hardest type of music you've ever experimented
Oh my. Well, so when I was traveling to these different communities around the world, you know, I always wanted to, like I had mentioned earlier, and I think it was Kelly that talked about this on day one, when you're going into a community or you're going into somebody else's, you're there as a guest in somebody else's community. You want to be respectful and you want to be honoring. And one way of doing that for me was including the local artists where I was visiting into my show, incorporating them into the production or the presentation or the show that we were doing. So I think that that was probably the most challenging, is because you've not practiced with them, and they have their own, you know, indigenous songs, but you want to somehow weave what you're doing together with them. So a lot of that is spontaneous, and a lot of it was really surprisingly wonderful. And a lot of it was a little difficult because you have to find that common ground where you meet, right? So that was challenging. For a genre of music, for me, it was really, you know, learning the songs, because I grew up hearing whole orchestras in my head when I would be at a park or swimming or laying underneath the trees on the riverbank of the Mississippi that I grew up on. I would hear the wind come, and I'd hear, you know, the rolling of a rock or the rolling of something, and I would hear rhythm in it. So I'd hear the entire composition in my head. To get that out into a song was always a process. But once I was able to master that and just, you know, really listen to what I was hearing and to translate that into a melody, um, that became a joy. I think that was really truly the best part of my career as an artist, is being able to write what I was hearing inside. Did that answer your question?
Rhea, did that answer your question? Yes,
Oh,
she
you're
said thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome, Rhea.
Well, Karen, we've still got a little more time before Brian joins us.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments from anyone who would like to share?
Oh, Suzanne, you asked, or somebody asked, oh, Suzanne, you said, who are the singers on the Girls Have Dreams song? So let me tell you about that. The lead singer is Sierra Valdez, and Sierra is a young woman that lives here in Southwest Washington. She started out writing her own songs. I heard her demo tape in my colleague's office. And I said, oh my goodness, who is that? And she said, well, this is this young girl that was just in my office the other day. You know, you really ought to think about, you know, introducing her to music. So I knew that we were writing this song, and I knew I wanted another vocalist to sing it. I didn't want to sing it. I wanted young girls to sing the song because it's a song for young girls. So I asked Sierra to come in, and she did a fabulous job singing. So she's the lead singer and she does some of the backgrounds. Then we had Madeline come in, and she was a friend of Al Criado's, and she came in and she sang background vocals. Then we had Ava, Di's granddaughter, come in and also sing background vocals. And it was Ava's first time recording in the studio. She did a fabulous job. It was so fun working with her. And then we had my granddaughter, Bella Roxanne Cusack. she, she's the little inspirational yeah at the end of the song. That's my granddaughter. So it was really fun working and collaborating with our granddaughters on the project. It's a beautiful legacy.
Yeah, it's a dream come true. Actually on my goal list, 10 years ago, I wrote that I want to compose and sing a song.
Mhm.
And I knew that probably wasn't going to happen. And so when Karen and we've known each other for years, I kept thinking this is really a goal to see what we can do to create a message in a very rhythmic way that girls can relate to, that can help inspire them to see the dreams within themselves and the talents within themselves. So it's been an amazing thing. And when I talk to my granddaughter, girls, she's very, very shy. And so I tried to say, you've got a beautiful voice. I hear you singing around the house. No, I'm scared. So Karen came over and sat down in the living room with her mom and dad and me. And Karen and I had her corralled on the couch. So Karen had a great way of just saying, just listen to this, Ava. And so Karen actually said the words, sang the words, and then played a little of the melody. And she said, can you see yourself singing this? Yes. So that led us to continue to have conversation. And as a result, I can't tell you how this has transformed my granddaughter, who was so shy about everything. And she sings all the time, and she sings in choir now, and she definitely wants to actually become an opera singer. So you just never know, you've got these little souls growing up around you, and you see their talent. Sometimes they don't think they have talent. They just need to have that little bit of encouragement, sometimes prodding a little bit. But we don't want, and I would tell my granddaughter, I said, when you first told me, you said no, but I said, you really don't know what you're saying no to. You have no idea how much fun this is going to be. So I guess that's my lesson to all of us as parents and grandparents, is when our kids that we're trying to help, if they say no, they may regret that later on. And so I'm encouraging girls to say yes more than you say no. If it's healthy and legal for you to try something that might be a little scary, but you never know, it may change your life. So Thank you, Karen, for helping to create a vehicle where I can bring my granddaughter and encourage her in her arts.
My pleasure. My pleasure.